Of all the rivalries Michael Jordan had, none cut deeper than the one with Reggie Miller. And when I say hate, I don't mean casual dislike. I'm talking about a grudge that lingered for decades. Miller wasn't just another trash talker. He was one of the few who could actually rattle Jordan, drag him out of character, and even push things to the point of fists flying mid-game. So today, let's dig into why MJ couldn't stand Reggie, and trust me, it goes way beyond simple trash talk. To really understand where it all began, you've got to rewind to 1987, when Miller was just a rookie stepping into the league. Like every young player, he wanted to measure himself against the greatest. But unlike most rookies, Reggie had the nerve to talk while doing it. At halftime, Jordan wasn't dialed in, just 4 points on the board. Miller saw his chance. And instead of staying quiet, he poked the bear with a few choice words that changed everything.
Hey, Michael, who do you think you are? The great Michael Jordan? That's right, there's a new kid on town.
Imagine being bold enough to trash talk a guy in just his third season, who also happened to be averaging 37 a night. That's the kind of gamble only Reggie Miller would take. The wild part? Jordan didn't fire back. No anger, no comeback, just a smirk, a nod, and silence. But once the second half tipped off, it was like a switch flipped. MJ transformed from coasting to cold-blooded. Bucket after bucket, he dismantled Reggie's confidence and reminded everyone why he was already feared across the league. By the final buzzer, Jordan had piled up over 40 points, while Reggie walked away humbled. Years later, he'd admit, that was the first and last time he ever tried talking trash to Michael Jordan. That game was more than just a funny rookie mistake. It was the spark that lit years of bad blood. To Jordan, Reggie wasn't just another opponent. He was the cocky kid who crossed the line, and Jordan was the type who never forgot. What started as a preseason jab turned into a rivalry with real venom. Every time the Bulls faced the Pacers, there was extra fire in the AIR.BY 1993, it all boiled over. Reggie wasn't the rookie anymore. He'd become the face of Indiana, dropping 20 a night and carving out his spot as one of the NBA's most irritating sharpshooters. And not irritating like a Patrick Beverley sideshow. Miller was the guy who stuck to you like static, ran his mouth nonstop, and somehow drew every whistle. So when the Pacers and Bulls clashed that March, the tension snapped. Chicago was chasing a three-peat, Jordan was in his absolute prime, and Miller wanted the world to know Indiana wasn't just a background extra in the Michael Jordan story. The game turned physical, until it finally exploded.
On two, 1 on 3, couldn't get it, and put back, no, it did fall. Now Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller having a go at it, and I mean we get...
Here's the thing about that fight, it wasn't just some random scuffle. For Jordan, respect was sacred. He had an unwritten code. You could challenge him physically, you could push him on the court, but if you carried yourself like you were on his level, that was personal. And Reggie Miller? He didn't just cross that line, he skipped over it with a grin. The 1993 fight showed how personal the rivalry had become. But fast forward 5 years, and the 1998 Eastern Conference Finals proved something even bigger. Reggie Miller had the guts and the game to nearly rewrite Jordan's legacy. This was Jordan's so-called last dance. The Bulls were chasing a 6th title in 8 years, holding together the last threads of their dynasty. And for once, the Pacers had a roster that could actually go toe-to-toe. Rick Smits, Mark Jackson, Chris Mullin, and a young Jalen Rose. This wasn't just Miller versus Jordan anymore, it was a collision of two heavyweights. And Indiana wasn't backing down. The series went the distance. 7 brutal games. Chicago had history on their side, but Indiana had nothing to lose. And Reggie Miller? He thrived in that kind of chaos. Game 4 was peak madness. Pacers down 1, clock winding down, and the ball ends up in Reggie's hands on the wing. Guarding him? Michael Jordan locked on him like a shadow. Most players would freeze. But Reggie shoved Jordan out of the way, created just enough space, and drilled a 3 with under a second left. Market Square Arena exploded. The crowd lost their minds. And Miller ran down the court pounding his chest like he had just slain a god. And honestly, in that moment it felt like he had.
9 seconds. Harper's on Miller. McKee gets it in the middle for the win!
That shove became the defining snapshot of their rivalry. Think about it. Who else would dare push Michael Jordan in the middle of a playoff game on national TV with everything on the line? Nobody. And the wildest part? The refs swallowed the whistle. If that play happened in today's NBA, the internet would implode, instant memes, endless debate shows, full-on meltdown. For the Pacers, it was proof they weren't intimidated by Chicago's aura. For Jordan, it was war. He already found Reggie Miller insufferable, But now Miller had shoved him aside in front of millions and gotten away with it. That wasn't just basketball, it was disrespect. And here's the kicker. Years later, Jordan himself admitted the Pacers were the toughest team he ever faced in the East outside of the Bad Boys Pistons. But that part of the story we'll get to soon.
I had to pick a team that gave us the toughest time in the East. Indiana was probably the toughest.
And that's really the arc of the rivalry. It started with rookie trash talk gone wrong in '87, exploded into a full-on brawl in '93, and peaked with a dynasty-threatening shove in '98. But even with all those moments, one question still lingers. Why did Jordan single out Reggie Miller more than anyone else? See, Michael had rivalries with almost every big name of the '90s. But if you line them up, you notice a difference. Take Charles Barkley, for instance. On the court, their battles were fierce. Barkley even snatched an MVP from Jordan in '93, and that final series was as physical as it gets. But off the court, there was respect. Friendship even. They played golf, they hung out, and it was more like two alphas acknowledging each other's greatness. Sure, their relationship soured years later when Barkley criticized Jordan's ownership of the Hornets, but that was business, not basketball. With Reggie, it was never like that. There was no off-court respect. No mutual understanding. Just pure tension.
On the left, gets chased into the corner, comes right back. Oh,
Patrick Ewing was another one. Every spring, Bulls versus Knicks felt less like basketball and more like war. And no star absorbed more playoff punishment from Jordan than Ewing. But even then, the respect was there. Ewing knew he was going up against the GOAT, and Jordan admired his toughness and consistency. Whenever MJ talks about his toughest battles, the Knicks are always near the top of the list, and that's because of Ewing's presence anchoring them.
Jordan putting the move on Porter, stop.
Then there was Clyde Drexler, the guy the media tried to hype as Jordan's equal. That narrative didn't survive the 1992 finals. Jordan buried it in one half, drilling 6 threes in Game 1 just to make a statement. And even after dismantling Drexler on the biggest stage, MJ still acknowledged him as one of the greats of that era. Isaiah Thomas was a whole different beast. The Bulls and Pistons flat out hated each other, and the animosity between Thomas and Jordan went far beyond basketball. But even that level of venom was rooted in mutual competition. It was champion versus champion, two dynasties colliding. Now compare all of that to Reggie Miller. With Reggie, there was none of that mutual respect. No, he pushed me to be better. No, he was one of the greats I had to go through. It was just raw irritation. Jordan didn't see Miller as a rival worthy of his level. He saw him as a pest. A guy who hadn't earned the right to poke at him, but kept doing it anyway. And if you think that sounds harsh, you don't have to take my word for it. Jordan himself said it.
Asked me for years why I couldn't stand Reggie Miller. It wasn't the trash talk or even the way he played. It was the way he carried himself, like he actually thought he was built like me. That's when I knew he had no idea who he was.
That was the difference. Barkley got respect. Ewing got respect. Even Isaiah, as much as Jordan despised him, earned respect. Reggie? He got none of it. And that's where things turned personal. In an ESPN interview, Jordan once laid it out raw. I don't really dislike anybody in the league, but playing Reggie Miller drives me nuts. It's like chicken fighting with a woman. His game is all this flopping type thing. He weighs only 185 pounds, so you have to be careful. Don't touch him or it's a foul. He's got his hands on you all the time, like a woman holding your waist. I just want to beat his hands off because it's illegal. It irritates me. That's brutal. Jordan wasn't just saying Miller talked too much. He was tearing down his entire style of basketball. To MJ, Miller wasn't playing men's basketball. He was gaming the refs, flopping, tugging, clawing, and doing all the irritating little tricks that didn't feel real to Jordan. That chicken fighting with a woman line says it all. He didn't even see Miller as a rival worthy of his level, just a nuisance who didn't belong on the same floor. But here's the irony. That's exactly what made Reggie dangerous. Jordan thrived on total psychological control. His mission wasn't just to beat you, it was to break you so badly you'd never think about challenging him again. And most players fell right into that trap. They kept their heads down when MJ started cooking because deep down they knew they were facing the best. Reggie Miller was different. He refused to play the role. He'd hit a 3, jog back down the floor, and whisper something slick into Jordan's ear. He'd jab an elbow into MJ's ribs, flop the moment he got touched, then throw his arms up like, "Ref, you saw that, right?" It was constant, relentless, and exactly the kind of irritation that could crawl under Jordan's skin like no one else.
I don't want people to think that it was some big rivalry, because a rivalry to me is we are on equal footing. I was never on equal footing with MJ, okay? But I loved the battles. And I know a lot of players that I played against, they would bow down to him. And that just was not going to be me. It was not in my nature to do that. So maybe I was hard-headed. Maybe I should have bowed down.
That's the kind of stuff that drove MJ insane, because in his world there was an order. Michael Jordan at the top. Everyone else fighting for scraps. Reggie Miller acted like he never got the memo. And the crazy part? He just kept poking the bear. This wasn't some finals MVP or perennial All-NBA first-team guy. This was Reggie Miller, a skinny sharpshooter from Indiana, refusing to bow to the king. He was like that kid in school who wouldn't stop tapping your shoulder. And instead of backing down when you snapped, he just tapped harder. Jordan hated it because it chipped away at the aura he built his entire career on. He thrived on fear, silence, and submission. Reggie gave him smirks, cheap fouls, and endless chatter. It stopped being just basketball, it turned into psychological warfare. And Miller was the only one crazy enough to keep swinging, even knowing Jordan could bury him at any moment. If you need proof, just rewatch the 1998 Eastern Conference Finals. That shove? It became one of the most replayed highlights of Miller's career. And it summed up their entire dynamic. Jordan, the untouchable superstar. Reggie, the pest bold enough to literally push him aside. But that series wasn't about one shot, it was about survival. If Indiana had pulled it off, Jordan's entire legacy shifts. No 6-0 finals record. No perfect dynasty. By 98, the Pistons were gone, the Knicks were worn down, and the rest of the East had folded. But Indiana still believed. They weren't intimidated. And Reggie Miller was the face of that resistance. For Jordan, that was infuriating. He'd spent years grinding rivals into submission. Yet here was Miller, still flopping, still talking, still knocking down clutch shots with everything on the line. When The Last Dance dropped in 2020, it reopened a lot of old wounds. But the one rivalry that felt the most personal was Jordan versus Miller. More than 2 decades later, MJ was still smirking as he retold that first trash talk moment from '87. He called himself Black Jesus. And he wasn't praising Reggie, he was mocking him, saying the rookie never knew who he was messing with. And Reggie? Even he admitted it. In a 2020 interview on The Dan Patrick Show, Miller said he was reluctant to even sit down for The Last Dance. And honestly, that says it all.
A lot of those good and bad memories of going against that dude.
Were you interviewed for this?
Again, reluctantly, yes. I tried to fight it. I actually did.
Jordan could still joke around with Charles Barkley on the golf course, at least before their friendship blew up in 2012. He's always been cool with Magic Johnson. Even Clyde Drexler and Patrick Ewing, who took years of punishment from him, eventually got the respect handshake. But with Reggie Miller, there was nothing. No laughs, no fake smiles, no post-retirement warmth. Just that cold shoulder. Miller was the one rival who never got Jordan's nod, the one who got under his skin in a way nobody else managed. And that's the real difference. Most of the other great NBA rivalries came down to something bigger than just irritation. Take Shaq and Kobe, for example. That wasn't just two teammates bumping heads, it was a full-blown personality clash while they were trying to dominate the league together. Shaq thought Kobe was too uptight. Kobe thought Shaq didn't take the game seriously enough. The Lakers' locker room basically turned into a reality show before reality TV even existed. Phil Jackson wasn't just coaching basketball, he was running a daycare for superstars. The wildest part? It worked. As toxic as it got, that beef still came with banners. 3 straight championships while barely tolerating each other. To this day, people still debate who mattered more during that run. But the results speak louder than the drama. And now, looking back, people almost laugh at the absurdity of it all. 2 guys who could barely stand each other managed to build a dynasty side by side.
Curry had a notion there to Barnes. Green and James jawing at each other while play continues.
Then you've got LeBron and Draymond. 2016 Finals. The Cavs were hanging on for dear life against the 73-9 Warriors when everything flipped. LeBron stepped over Draymond, total disrespect. Draymond lashed out, caught him low, and suddenly the Warriors' emotional engine was suspended for Game 5. That suspension cracked the door open. Cleveland stormed back from 3-1 down, and LeBron capped it off with the iconic words on the podium, "Cleveland, this is for you."
Cleveland! This is for you!
But here's the key difference. Even with all the heat, rivalries like LeBron and Draymond always carried a layer of respect. Draymond's admitted LeBron is one of the smartest players he's ever faced. And LeBron? He doesn't waste energy on guys he doesn't rate. That fire was built on competition, not hatred. KD and Westbrook were another story altogether. That wasn't about basketball, it was betrayal. These two were supposed to be OKC's Jordan and Pippen, the future of the league together. Westbrook thought he had his running mate for the long haul. Then Durant left for the very team that had just knocked them out. To Russ, it felt like the ultimate betrayal. Suddenly you had all-star weekends where Russ wouldn't even look at KD, Thunder fans booing him every time he touched the ball, and Durant clapping back with burner accounts like it was high school drama. For a while, it was the coldest breakup in NBA history. But time dulls everything. Russ kept grinding, KD collected rings, and the rivalry cooled off. That's where Jordan and Reggie stand out. Their beef wasn't about locker room drama like Shaq and Kobe, or finals battles like LeBron and Draymond, or betrayal like KD and Russ. It was about something smaller. Petty. Irritation. Pride. Disrespect. 1,000 little pokes that stacked up into something Jordan could never quite let go of. Reggie was never MJ's equal, not even close. But the fact that Jordan still remembers him, still smirks about Black Jesus in The Last Dance decades later, that's proof this feud went deeper than it ever should have. It wasn't just basketball anymore. It was personal, and that's what made it so compelling for everyone watching. Pacers, Bulls in the 90s wasn't just a matchup, it was must-see TV. Every game carried the promise of tension, chaos, and Reggie Miller poking the ultimate bear. His legacy is forever tied to those moments. The shove, the trash talk, the chest pounds. The rare time someone actually got under Jordan's skin. In the end, Jordan still prevailed like he always did. But instead of weakening his aura, the Miller rivalry made it stronger. The media ate it up. Fans couldn't get enough. It was villain versus god, played out in real time, and every shove, flop, and clutch shot only added to the legend. So what do you think? Did Michael Jordan really hate Reggie Miller? Or did he secretly love having a rival bold enough to test him like that? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more deep dives into the NBA's greatest rivalries.